Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to another Red Dragon Inn unboxing. This is part 2 for the Smorgasbox. So this is a big giant box set which has a little bit of content for all the Red Dragon Inn games. So check out part 1 if you want to see us go through the decks for Roxanna and her recipes. As well as Otto, our mechanical friend, and learn about that. We also go through the couple of drink cards and the prize card variants. So all the stuff that is for the core Red Dragon Inn game. Then there's been the spin-off game, which was Battle for Greyport, which is kind of like a more tabletop miniature type game. I don't own it as of this video, so I can't speak to how it's exactly played, but for that game, we also got a copy of Roxanna. So in this video, we're going to go over that, as well as we're going to go over Rogues and Wizards. So if you're just interested in the stuff for the main drinking, gambling, Red Dragon Inn game, just go check out video 1. If you want to see what the other content in this box is, to see if it's worth picking up, this is what that video will be. So to start off, we're going to get a divider for this. So this is the Roxanna Adventurous Chef. It has a little carrot up there to indicate that it kind of goes with her card. And then we have a little deck of cards for her for the Battle at Greyport. And the back of her card just specifies how this kind of plays out. So during a round, this is the different things you do. It's just kind of like a reminder for players. Again, I'm not going to read through all of it because I don't know exactly how to play it. But what they have in the book here is, it says, tag Roxanna to the game of Battle for Greyport. Choose first where that player will be playing as Roxanna. If not, shuffle the Roxanna reinforcement card with the silver icon on the bottom into your hero reinforcement deck at the start of the game. If someone wishes to play as Roxanna, then remove her from the reinforcement card from the game, and then they shuffle the 9 starting card deck, which she has here, and then take their oversized level 1 hero, and set aside the other level 2 or 3. And you also get recruit cards from the you also get to recruit any cards from the reinforcements added to your hand. This means that you will start the next encounter with an extra card. Note, leveling up happens after a player spends the remaining coins in the end of the encounter, so special recruit action happens after that. Also, Roxanna's level up ability happens exactly once at the end of the encounter, regardless of how many times you played your hero during the encounter. Alright, so hopefully if you played the game, you know what any of that means, because I don't know. We do have is the reinforcement card here, so a little silver shield in there. So it has, there's various symbols on these cards. There's a white square in the top. This is kind of her set icon. And this is Roxanna the Adventurous Chef. It says, you may recruit a card from reinforcements, you still must pay for it. Who's hungry? Then her starting deck of cards, which I'm assuming are all the rest of these. She has Cleaver, which she can spend just swords to do cleave. It costs 2. I'm assuming that's what these mean just from having played other games. We have a blue card, which is a magic line of magic missile. She gets a soldier. The first line of defense, she gets a couple of those. And then she gets 3 acolytes, which are blue, and say at least they know how to cast magic missile, and that's Zot saying that. So you get a couple of different cards. I'm assuming most characters have roughly the same layout of cards for that. Again, not having owned the game, I'm not for sure. Then we have her big oversized cards, which as a comparison. And that's going to be Roxanna the Adventurous Chef, which has a yellow dot or cube in the corner. Level 1. Has an arrow. It stops as dual wield. When you level up, you may recruit a card from the reinforcements for free. This will cause you to start the next encounter with an extra card. And then level 2 has the same ability with dual wield. And then she has a level 3, which says down arrow taunt or right arrow with a stop dual wield. Which I'm assuming does the same as the other 2 effects. Yeah, so interesting. I don't know what they'll do, but that is neat though, as you get an extra character. Because I think for Battle of Greyport, they've only released one extra set. So if you bought that, you're only getting, there's only one other expansion to get some extra characters. So this is a way to get an extra character. So if you don't really care for, you're not planning on getting that game, you're going to have a set of cards sitting around that aren't going to do you any good if you buy this set. The other thing we have are the Rogues and Warriors game. So this is the game that they play in Red Dragon Inn. If you'll recognize the cards, they have the green and blue and red. So when you're playing the I'm Gambling cards, this is the game that they're supposedly playing. So what's interesting about this is, when I mean, obviously I read the box or whatever, I'm like, oh, you're going to get just a game, which you can include in, play as a 100% standalone game, or you could integrate it into the Red Dragon in-game. So like when you do the I'm Gambling part and someone starts up a gambling, you can actually break out these cards and play an actual gambling game, which is kind of interesting. And I thought, okay, that's what it is. It's just a way to play this game either in or outside the thing. There are, I think, 15 different variations on this game. So there's the giant book here. So it's gambling, I mean, content, your cards, basic concepts. Have some simple games, Rogues and Warriors. You can play threes, King's Council, Jack of all trades, and Double Row. Medium complexity, Three Kings, Dragon Hordes, Delve, Spy Network, and Dragon Hunt. And complex game, Den of Thieves, City Square, The Wheel, Heroes Plunder, and Streets of Greyport. And then there's some appendices, Adventurer's Choice, Playing Inside Red Dragon Inn, Betting Rounds, and Playing for Shares. Now, I'm not going to sit here and go through every single thing in here, because we would be sitting here for 2 hours going through all these. But we're going to go over some of the basics in here. Now, the Rogues and Warrior deck contains 90 cards, which is divided into 6 sets of 15 cards each. Each set contains 1 warrior, 2 ladies, 3 bards, 4 merchants, and 5 rogues. So if you draw from a shuffled deck, you have a 1 in 15 chance of drawing a warrior, but a 5 in 15 or a 1 in 3 chance of drawing a rogue. So it's kind of the rare to more common. A card's rank is shown in 3 ways. The icon is the number in the corner by the picture. The icon and the number in the corner, so these icons and numbers. The symbol and the picture in the center. With the lower number are rare and in many games better. They have colors. Cards that come in 3 colors, red, blue, and green. Cards colors also indicated by a pattern down the side of the card. Diagonal lines are red, circles are blue, and wave patterns are green. And then there are animal symbols. Each of the 15 sets is mentioned above has a suit associated with it. Hawk, wolf, horse, owl, hare, and wren. Each of the animal suits has a mammal suit and a bird suit. So they have, a red and a blue. Can each have each different color. There are also dragon cards. In addition to the standard 90 card, there are 3 dragon cards, 1 of each color. Dragon cards do not have associated animal suits. Most games specify optional variants for the dragon cards. If you wish to use the variants, simply shuffle the dragon cards into the deck. And then there are gray cards. There are 5 gray cards, 1 of each rank. These are used for games in the Wheel and Dragon Hordes. The back to the gray cards contain useful information, including pair rankings for the game Rogues and Warriors, and gray cards are never shuffled into the deck. So they're kind of like mini rule cards. Then game concepts. So 15 different games that can be played. It will specify how many players, how complex the game is. Most games listed optional variants. Multiple variants for games can be combined, unless description says otherwise. Each game is a standalone gambling game. When playing the game standalone, we recommend using the rules described in Appendix A, Adventurer's Choice. When a player takes turns choosing one of the games in the book, and with the most chips at the night is a winner. When playing this game standalone, you will need betting tokens in multiple denominations, such as poker chips. So if you're playing by itself, it doesn't come with anything extra. inside Red Dragon Inn. Many of the games can be played inside the Red Dragon Inn, replacing the normal gambling rounds. Rules pages are described in Appendix C. Incompatible, and are marked with a coin showing to the right. So they have like a picture of like one of the gold coins, except it's silver. Betting rounds versus playing for shares. Most of the games are played with betting rounds as described in Appendix C, or with a single fixed wager. The latter is referred to playing for shares as described in Appendix D. Betting rounds generally give players more interesting choices, but playing for shares provides a faster game. Just basically, if you keep upping the bet, it's going to take longer versus just saying, hey, if you win the game, you get this, or you earn, like, you win the game, you get 6 gold, or you earn 8 points, or whatever. So there's just other things in there. Ties, rank, color, merchants rule, king's rule, common rule, gambling. It says, be aware some jurisdictions prohibit gambling for real money, even in casual home games. Slugfest Games recommends playing solely for poker chips and bragging rights. So don't sit down and play this and try and have a full poker night. Alright, so we're going to look at, the only game I'm going to look at in full is Rogues and Warriors, because this one is here designed by the Slugfest team, which combined the game for 2 to 10 players, 1 complexity, and can be played inside Red Dragon Inn. Rogues and Warriors is a very simple game. It's great for introducing the concepts such as betting rounds and distribution of cards on the deck. The object of Rogues and Warriors is to have the highest pairs indicated in the reference card. Warrior is the best hand, Rogue is the worst. The players with the best pair wins. So order of play, you ante. Each player receives a hand of 2 cards from the Rogue and Warrior deck. Betting rounds, each player immediately simultaneously reveals 1 card. Betting round again. Players reveal their hands and determine the winners. Scoring, the player with the highest pair wins. And tiebreaker, see ties. And variants, you get dragon cards, exchange variants, and they have some ranking classes. Which I'm not going to go over all those. So, more or less, they didn't really explain any of the stuff on there for how anteing and how betting works. But the idea is what you're trying to do is you're going to get 2 cards from your hand. So you can try and basically bluff people. Like, what do I have the best results of? So on the backs of these gray cards, so take a quicker look at those. They're going to show a bunch of different information, as well as showing how many are the decks. So warriors are going to have warrior cards are going to have the symbol, ladies, bards, merchants, rogues, what numbers associated, what their symbols are, and how many are in each deck. So you have an idea. You get 30, 24, 18, 12, and 6. So what you're trying to do is when you draw 2 cards, you're going to randomly draw whatever 2 cards. So if these are the 2 I drew, I would have a bard and a merchant. So I look for bard merchant down here. It's way down here, so it's 4th from the bottom. So if this is my hand, I might want to bet a lot more. So I put in my ante, if your ante is like 1 or whatever. And that says each player receives my 2 hands. I got my cards. I have the betting rounds. Now I can gamble. Is how much do you think my hand is worth? Do I think other people have better cards? Hey, my hand's pretty good. It's 4th from the bottom. I'm pretty sure I can probably win this. So maybe I'll bet, 5 coins. And then other players that maybe have weaker hands might bow out, not try. Other player that thinks they have a better hand or thinks I'm bluffing might, meet my bet or bet higher. And this is each player reveals 1 card. So now if I had to reveal one of these cards, which one would I want to reveal? Well, there's more merchants than there are bards. I'd probably reveal I have a merchant. Because then they're probably going to be like, oh, he could literally have a lot more stuff than I have. Or I could maybe try it the other way and reveal a bard, and they're going to be like, ooh, he might have a good hand. Or he could be bluffing, and his other hand could be like a rogue. Could be like the rogue, and that could be way up here. Or it could be another bard, and that could be way down here. So it's, it's kind of a psychological game there. But then once people see it, and they can kind of guess it. So if you play a warrior card, actually, I was looking at that the wrong direction. This is actually the weekend. So mine's way down here on the weekend. So yeah, I'm probably not going to want to bet with this hand and probably want to bow out. I looked at that option. But if you have a warrior, being that the last warrior card ends right here, it's in the top bunch, you're going to have a really good chance. But I could bluff people with my bard, because they might be like, oh, there's 2 bards right here, but then there's the other 3 bards are all up here. So I could maybe bluff with a bard, and they might think, hey, he could have it in the top half of the deck. So again, yeah, you can win with a pair of 2s if you're good enough at bluffing. But then you reveal 1 card, you bet again, and then players determine their hand, you win. So it's fairly simple how that works. It's nothing super extraordinary. That is that. So then there's just some other ones. You can play 3s. Simple game where the object have a total of the lowest total on the 5 dice at the end of the game is called 3s because 3s add no points when determining a score. Each player takes 5 dice, rolls them, and do some different stuff. So I'm not going to read through all of these, but there's just some various differences. The King's Council here says, you're trying to assemble a council of advisors to the king or queen. This particular leader prefers yes men, however, the rewarding for gathering advisors who have much more in common with the king as possible. So like this one, you want to score by same rank as the king, score 2 points, same colors gains 1 point, and the same animal type scores more than 1. So yeah, some differences there. There's some variants you can play, and there's a bunch of different ones. So there's 15 different ones. Here using some of your gambling with some more coins. Playing some different dice games. Spy Network, Dragon Hunt. Probably trying to hunt down one of the dragon cards. And you can see as they go on, they're going to get a little bit more intensive games as the complexity gets up there. Like here's the wheel. You're going to play these guys all face down. And playing different cards. So that takes more than a page to explain how it's played. A lot of more stuff. Like I said, I'm not going to go through every single one of these just because if you're interested, that's what it is. But we're going to look at a couple other things here. So we have Adventurer's Choice. Are you part of the party that can't agree on which game to play? Do you want a little extra structure? Are you trying to look for a friendly game where players never alone? Then Adventurer's Choice is for you. To play Adventurer's Choice, you will need 100 units of money, such as poker chips or gold coins. If you own enough of these Red Dragon Inn games, you probably have 100 coins sitting around. Except it says for each player, so I don't know if you have enough for each player. Preferably in various denominations. You will also need 2 different types of markers to serve as a debt and loan markers. Decide amongst yourself how long you like to play. Starting player chooses which game to play with possible variants. After a game is played, the starting player moves to the player on the left. They choose the next game to play. So that way everyone's getting an option. Between games, if a player has fewer than 25 units of money, that player may ask for a loan. The player with the most money then must give them 50 money. The overall score of these players remains the same, however. The loaning player gets a loan marker, and the player asking for the loan receives a debt marker. Are not considered when determining who takes the loan and who must cover it. So basically it could be like, if player 1 is under 25, they could ask player 2 for a loan. They have to give them 50 money. But now that might not make player 2 have the most money anymore. Now maybe player 3 does. So player 4, if they were under, would have to ask player 3. This is after the agreed upon game length, the player with the most money wins. Add 50 money to your final score for each loan marker and subtract 50 for each debt. So it's kind of a way to keep everyone in the game. So if someone plays the first game and they just dominate, and they started with 100, now they have 200 and somebody else has 10, now they have to give up 50 of their 200 to somebody else. But at the end of the game, if that other person can't then turn around and make up the deficit, they're still going to lose. But at least it prevents them from maybe starting the next game, or keeping their total at the end of the game from having way too high of a score. Playing in Red Dragon Inn, most of the games can be played inside. Look for the coin next to it. However, for attempting to combine any of these games, you should first familiarize yourself with the games you wish to play before playing them by themselves. We suggest starting out by incorporating the simpler games such as Rogues and Wizards and Threes. So basically, play these first, know how they play, so that way when you have to stop your other game, you're not jumping and adding extra rules to it. So when someone plays Gambling I'm In, to start a round of gambling, they may choose a game from this rulebook along with the variants they wish. Starting player for that game, variants is playing for shares may not be chosen, so you're happy to like the anteing, and we'll look at that one in a second. After starting player chooses a game, players ante 1 gold as normal. If you have a card that allows you to avoid having to ante or leave the round, you may play it at this time. After players play ante, players play the chosen game instead of a round of gambling. Instead, the round is won by whoever is the last gambling or cheating card. The round is instead won by whoever wins the actual game of gambling. So basically, you play it, everyone has to ante in or can opt out, and then you play the regular card game. The new Rogues and Warriors game. Ignore any effect that says in control of the round, since no one has the bearing on the win. Since it has no bearing on the winner round. Follow the order of play list in a chosen game with one exception. When order of play calls for a betting round, players may play gambling and cheating cards instead described below. So, if the chosen game calls for a betting round, players do not bet. Instead, each player still in the round starts the game and may play one gambling or cheating card or pass. Playing a gambling or cheating card allows you to change your cards, dice, or described below in the effects. After one player round has either passed or played one gambling or cheating card, the game continues in the next step of listing order of play. As in a normal Red Dragon Ing, players may play relevant sometimes any card times during a round of gambling. So, for example, counter cheat cards and cards that steal gold from the pot may still be played. In addition to the I guess the wench thought this was her tip, will still end the round immediately. If it effectively causes players to leave a round of gambling, partway through the game, that player folds immediately. If a player plays a card that would extend their round of gambling or wins to cause a new round to start, then the appropriate players would pick the gambling as if it was just played. So it's kind of interesting. So, like, in that first game, in the very first game we looked at, Rogues and Wizards. Basically, you ante, everyone puts in their 1 gold, can play cards at this time to either exit or stay in the game. Then you proceed to put down your Red Dragon Ink cards, pick up your Rogue and Warrior cards, you get a hand of 2. Then during the betting round, everyone can now decide, hey, do I want to play a card that affects the game from my Red Dragon Ink cards? Then they go back to their Warriors and Rogues and Warriors cards, reveal one. Then they go back to the betting. They have an option to stay in or not, and then they reveal their hand. And then whoever wins the game, they get the pot. Yes, it's a little bit trickier because you have to kind of navigate with 2 hands of cards, but it's still kind of interesting. And then there's betting rounds. So I'm not going to go over all of this, but you have various things. If you haven't ever played a poker game, you have various things you can do. So this line right here is, at the beginning of the round, the current bet is 0, starting with the starting player, proceed clockwise. With your turn, you may either match the current bet, call, increase it, raise, or leave the game. So doing those various things. So call, during your turn in a betting round, if you wish to match the current bet, you may call. You may have already called or raised during the current round, so if any previous money is considered to be part of your bet for the current round. To call, you only need to add the amount until it matches the current bet. So if the current bet is 1, you have to pay 1. So the total of the current amount, the amount the bet must call in order to stay in the game. At the beginning of each round, the current bet is 0, and the increases when it raises. So down here we have raises. If it is your turn during the betting round, you may increase the current bet. This is called raising. To raise a bet, betting a greater amount than the current bet. The amount now becomes a new current bet. For example, if the bet is 3 and you raise 3, now it is 6. So basically, if you haven't ever played poker, you don't know how that works. It gets to your turn, you can either leave the game. Hey, I can't win. Fold, and then you're out of that round. You lose all your money that you bet. You can call, which lets you what calling lets you basically pay the same amount. So if the current bet is 2, you can pay 2 to stay in the game. You're not raising it, basically saying, I think I have a solid enough hand, I want to stay in this, see what everyone else does, but I don't necessarily believe I have the best hand to try and win. If you think you have a really good hand, you might raise, which puts more money in the pot. Now everyone else has to then spend that much to stay in the game, but it also means that you have to keep paying that too to stay in. They do have other things like bluffing and checking. So if it's your turn during a betting round and the current bet is 0, you may check. So if nobody's raised the bet at all, you can just check. So that's good maybe during like the first turn or so, just because you're like, I have decent cards, but I'm going to see if anyone thinks they have really crappy cards and wants to get out. And there's some other rules for that as well. And then there's some other different things here we have, like taking stakes, splashing the pot, all in, various other ways to play gambling stuff, so I didn't go through all that. And then we have playing for shares. So the last thing I'm going to go through, and then I'm going to probably end this video. So we're going to look at all the cards really quick, and then we'll end the video. Playing for shares is different. We have waging for the game. Here, playing for shares, the ante is only the bet. Any betting rounds in the game are skipped. At the end of the game, players with the best hand collect the shares of pot based on their placement and the number of the game. So if you're playing like a 4-player game, player 1 gets 3 points, player 2 gets second place gets 1. It just kind of works that way. So playing for shares, players should grant the size of the amount. Is all good. So basically it's saying, instead of everyone betting up a round every turn and having to worry about raising bets and calling all that, basically says, okay, everyone wants to play a game, it costs 5 to be in this round. Everyone pays 5. Then everyone gets to use that much. It's kind of the idea. So you play it, and then it's a different way to do it, so you don't have to worry about betting and all that stuff. Alright, yeah, so there's a lot in here. Again, like, I didn't sit here and go through all of these, because it would take forever. I mean, we're already at a long video anyhow. But we're going to whip through these cards super fast, because they're lots of the same ones. So we have our black ones, which would just have our different classes on there, and then they have the same black border. And that's going to be the artwork for all the cards. So we're going to have, now these guys have these special backs on there. So all the green cards, we have 2 warriors. And then you can see like each one has, these are all 1s, they're all warriors, they're 2 colors, and then each one has a different one of the animals. So it has 1 bird, 1 mammal. And then the reds, and that's just going to be the same for all the other cards. So we're going to get 2 of each of the greens, 2 of each of the blues. When we get to the reds, it'll be 3, or it'll be 4 of each, so 2 of each different animal. And then the same thing. So we're going to get 3 of each of these. So 3 birds, 3 rabbits of each color. When we get to the merchant, we'll have 4 of each. So it's also going to match the number of the die, which is going to be also a good way to indicate how many there are of each. So you know that, like, this is die number 4, means you're going to get 4 of each of these types of cards. That means there's 8 total. Oops. And finally we have the road, which will have 5 of each. 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just going to skip through these. We have 5 of that one. 5 of the one with the bird. 5 with the rabbit. 5 with the hawk. And 5 with the wolf. Then finally we will have the 3 dragon cards. We have a red one, a blue one, and a green one. And then the back to each of theirs are the same things. Alright, so that is what we have for Red Dragon in Smorgasbox, and the Gambling Rogues and Wizards card game. Alright, see you guys in the next video. If you guys are interested in seeing more of each one of these, let me know in the comments, and maybe I'll make a second video where I spend more time, like, at least showing off, if not reading all of them. See you guys then. Bye.